says it has put measures in place to ensure that mortgage acquisition is not burdensome. We'll find out. Now, suggestions are rife that the current economic challenges which have resulted in the cedi's depreciation and rising inflation rate are now having impact on the housing market. According to a new report by real estate research firm Housing Data, during the first quarter of 2014, housing price have experienced an overall hike of between 18.5% and 25%. So a year ago, in the Dawenya district of Tema, a 2-bedroom and semi-detached and 3-bedroom detached houses were sold for $66,500 and $87,000 respectively. Now, in 2014, first quarter of the year, the 2-bedroom semi-detached will go for $85,000, while the 3-bedroom detached will go for $105,000. Now, that's an increase of 23.5% and 19% respectively, and it goes on and on in similar areas. Right, and so we'll have a conversation around this. I have here with me in the studio to my immediate left, Samson Ahi, Minister for Works and Housing. Deputy Minister for Works and Housing. And there is also Frederick from NATAC, the National Association of Tenants. Yeah, and thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me here on News Desk.
Thank you.
Right, Frederick Obogo, I want to start with you. These figures we've had, are they real?
Actually, thank you very much for this great opportunity given us, the Tenant Association of Ghana. I think we have been many a time looking for such opportunities to head on with the authorities, especially the ministries. With respect to the statistics and whether it is true or it is factual or it is fictitious, we are not actually interested in that. But it's a big issue which has actually compounded for a long time, and that has resulted into this stuff. If you talk about issue regarding housing, as you know, government upon government coming and going. I don't want to cite any particular government, but I can say government after Jerry Rawlings' time, we have had a lot of issues to do with housing that they don't actually give any cognizant respect, or they don't treat with any kind of respect, because it looks as if they downplay issues of shelter.
Okay, so your point is, yes, whether this data is true or not, there's difficulty in the system, in access to accommodation here in the country.
Yes.
Samson, your thoughts on the data we've received?
Personally, I haven't seen the couple of the data yet, and let me appeal to my brother that next time when they are able to come out with such important documents, they will make a copy available to the ministry, so that it will also inform us as to what we do. Now, I think we are all aware of the housing needs of the country as we speak. We are talking about a housing deficit of about 1.7 million.
Absolutely.
That has been the situation now. So it is true that many Ghanaians are struggling with accommodation, in fact, housing. So that is a fact. But it is not wholly also true that government upon government after Jerry Rawlings haven't done anything about housing. Efforts are being made. In fact, all over the world, it is the private sector that actually moves the housing industry. What government does is to create the enabling environment so that the various actors in the housing industry can strike. And so that is what government has been doing. And so as I'm sitting here now, there are several projects, housing projects going on in the country. I mean, we will talk about the costs of the finished product, I mean the housing, but there are various activities going on.
We keep hearing that, Samson, that government is doing all it can to help with the situation of the expense of homes, of buying homes here in the country. But we are yet to see, you know, in real terms that these things have happened.
Yeah, if you go to between Nengo Pram and Sugakope, on the left side, you will find out that there is a company now doing 5,000 housing units. They are on site as you speak.
Which company?
OS company.
But who lives there?
No, they are now constructing.
We've been constructing for too long, haven't we?
No. This one, the President, His Excellency Carlos sold in November last year, 2013. So they are doing the infrastructure. I'll be happy to take you there for you to see things for yourself.
I have cited it,
yes,
but
if you go further, you will see that they are working on the infrastructure. You know, you have to do the infrastructure first before you do the actual construction, the actual housing construction. So there are a lot of programs to now. If you go to Pong, where President Kufuor's time, they started this affordable housing. We've started it, and now TDC is working on the Pong site, and now we've engaged. SNET has come. You
see the houses in Ashot right now. Nobody lives there, and these are facilities that could accommodate several hundreds of Ghanaians, but they are there, they're wasting away, and people are using it, and we are not getting any returns from the money we've invested. Why?
People are not living there because they have not been completed. But President Mahama, when he came to Parliament last year, assured Ghanaians that his government was going to work very hard to complete all those affordable housing. And so now, if you go to the site, in fact, last year we gave 5 blocks to the military. They have finished. We gave 5 blocks to State Housing Company. They have finished. The remaining ones have been given to SNET. And now we have called the original contractors who are mobilizing to move to site to complete the various sites. So it's not as if nothing has been done about it.
Frederick, are you content?
You see, my sister, I'm very, very happy today that Honorable himself is here. And as I said earlier, these are some of the opportunities that some of us have been yearning all along to be meeting. The truth or the fact of the case is that ministry or government upon government have not had any focus or direction in terms of trying to put something concrete on the table. If you ask the minister right now, ask her what is the strategic plan, or do you even have a national housing policy in the first place? I'm aware that the national housing policy of Ghana has been a draft stage for 7 good years. This shows how unserious government upon government don't take housing seriously. And they try to play some kind of gimmicks because Ghanaians are not into, look at education. Somebody said, I'll give you free uniform. I'll say, I'll give you books, I'll give you shoes, and what have you. Than playing housing. And they don't give you, because shelter is one of the most important needs in human life. But if you look at health, education, and housing, how much do they invest in housing in a particular year in our budgets? And what physical steps do you see? What do you see them doing?
Absolutely.
Now, if you ask maybe Honorable Collins Dauda, she has been there for these 2 years also in Mohammed's government. What is his plan? What is his focus? All he hears about affordable housing, but I'm disappointed in code. Sorry for this, to say this, because they have not been able to distinguish between affordable housing and social housing.
Okay.
And you see government, you see ministers talking about. I'm coming affordable housing. If it's affordable, what's affordable housing?
Let's have the minister react to some of the things you've said. He's mentioned a national policy on housing.
I think that if you don't know, just ask. And you will be told.
Okay.
Don't just say that we are not doing it.
So let's try and break that.
And because, as he said, this housing policy has been on the drawing board for a long time now.
Yes.
As we speak, we have worked on it.
Okay, completely.
It is currently before cabinet for consideration and approval.
Right.
And so, if you are not aware of it, we organized a lot of stakeholders meeting on it. The recent one was in December last year.
Okay.
Which we finalized.
Right.
And it's now before cabinet. So if you don't have the information, just ask for it. Don't just say that nothing is being done about it.
And so this national policy.
Yes, that's not, like it's right to some extent, because we don't have codified housing policy to regulate the activities of the real estate developers
Okay.
in the industry. And so it is like free for all for everybody. Everybody is
With
doing
very
what,
little
yes,
transparency.
once you have your money and you're able to convince a chief and you have a land, you are into real estate development, then that should not be the case. And so we are trying to coordinate things. We are organizing the things so that at the end of the day, there will be a regulatory body that will regulate the conduct and activities of the actors in the industry.
Is that contained in the
Yes,
national policy
of course.
you've laid
Yes,
before?
and so many
cabinet?
things. And let me inform you that what the president has said, that he is going to push for mortgage financing. The reason why many people cannot afford their own homes is the cost, as he mentioned. But you bear with me. If you travel to the US, Europe, Canada, and so on and so forth, it is mortgage financing which enables people to buy their own home. But that is not our culture in this country. And that is something that we are pushing. So now, my minister have met a lot of banks who have expressed interest in this mortgage financing.
The banks are
And
already
even with
doing
that, we also realize that even with mortgage financing, many more people cannot still buy them.
Absolutely.
So what we are doing now is to introduce this infrastructure development. Where government have, we have land banks. We have land banks there. If you go to the regional capital, we have them. Here, so on and so forth. So what we are going to do now is to develop the infrastructure, do the roads, send water, send electricity, because at the end of the day, when they are doing the pricing of the house, all these things are factored into it. You understand? So the focus now is for us to identify ear marketplace, develop the necessary infrastructure, let the place become serviceable, service plot, so that you will give it to the developers, so that the price of the houses will come down.
Let's wrap it up
we are
on
doing all these things together.
Let's wrap it up on the national policy on housing. It's been at the cabinet level for a while now, hasn't it?
No, it's just about 2 weeks ago that we submitted it.
You submitted it 2 weeks ago. I see. I'm asking because I was starting to have a deja vu of you telling me that before, but so let's move away from that. So this national policy on housing is coming, so that what happens? You've mentioned of what happens when this national policy comes in?
Yeah, like I said, what will happen is that we will have a regulatory body to...
beyond the regulatory body, because I think we get a point on that one.
Yeah,
so,
apart from that, we're going to have this push for this mortgage financing. Now, as a government, whatever transaction we do, whatever contracts, in fact, the OS that I mentioned earlier, we incorporated this, we are doing that together with EcoBank, Barclays Bank, who will buy the houses after they have been constructed and then sell it to beneficiaries.
But you realize that Barclays Bank is a profit-making organization, and if you give it to them to sell to us, how do we manage that?
He said, he made mention of affordability. What is affordable is relative. Now, if one bedroom costs, say, even 5,000 Ghana cedis, and ask many Ghanaians to come and pay 5,000 and then move into one bedroom, I'm sure many of us cannot. But in the same vein, if you have a facility where it will allow that beneficiary 20 years, 25 years to pay gradually for that 5,000, I'm sure we'll have a lot of our people who can access it. So that is the focus. 5,000 is very, I just use it
because most of the price list that has come out with affordable housing, 127,000 cedis and 50,000 cedis.
I also know that
where are we going to get it from?
Blue Rose on Caswell Road, 2 bedrooms is 50,000.
So my thing is, this is national housing. Let's break down affordable, since you brought it up. This is national housing, and just like you said, it's relative. But on the national level, my thinking is, one would imagine that you would look at the conditions within the country and then price according to. But if even your public workers cannot afford, then it's not affordable, is it?
Look, when we talk of affordable housing or mass housing, we have a policy on it. What the prices that they are being quoted are people who are doing their own businesses altogether. There is a policy in place to exempt people who are into affordable housing.
Okay.
I mean, not allowing them to pay tax on whatever materials or, I mean, that they import into this country. We exempt, we grant 5-year tax exemption.
Have you started doing that already?
It's a policy there.
Okay.
And so this is we have to distinguish this from people who are into their pure business activities. And then, apart from that, if you import any material into this country for social housing, you will not be allowed to pay tax on it. We do some of these things so that at the end of the day, the prices of the end product will go down. So if you don't come to us that you are into social housing, affordable housing, where we'll take you through the processes so that you can benefit from this policy, but you are doing your own thing, you go and buy your land somewhere and then do your construction.
How many of these companies?
Government doesn't come in at all.
Okay.
Then at the end of the day, the person will price it. But if it is well organized and you come to us, we'll have MOU with you, we'll commit ourselves to, then we'll grant you the tax exemption and those things, give you land and so on and so forth. We'll make sure that at the end of the day, you will fall within that concept of affordable housing.
How many of these companies have taken advantage of those opportunities you have created? Because as far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen any affordable housing.
Yeah, you have
in use.
Yes, that is. But they are aware. Greda is aware of this facility. Greda is aware of this facility. If they haven't taken advantage of it, then that is their fault.
Now that is public-private partnership.
Yeah, it's no. Yeah, okay, sort of. You can call it, yes. Public-private partnership, sort of. But the facility is there. The opportunity is there. It is open to everybody who is interested in. That's why I'm saying that
I
now
see. So
what we are doing.
What conditions do you give them when it comes to the word affordable? What conditions do you give them? Okay, you have to price the house as affordable as this so we can allow ABC for you.
Yes, in fact, the law says that you cannot use more than 30% of your monthly income on shelter. I mean, to whether you are renting or whatever. And so we take that into account.
Okay.
That whatever income that you have, you shouldn't spend more than 30% of it at the end of every month on shelter.
Okay.
So we take all these things together to, I'm actually coming out with the price of
the conditions for that, the opportunities you create for them. We'll come back to that, but at this point I want Frederick to share thoughts with us on some of the things Minister has been telling us.
You see, I'm going short of words because I have a lot to say. You see, the gospel truth of the issue has to do with government not trying to come clear with issues. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, if you talk about affordability, you know, they have affordable from 2008, NPP affordable. But the word affordable to just ordinary Ghanaian is what? It's about somebody who earns 360 Ghana cedis a month, and the whole year or 20 years in a particular employment or job cannot buy anything till the person dies. I think they lack the know-how to get things done and make things happen. And some of us, we are ready, you know, and I'm happy. And I'll give a free consultation to the minister and his government, because the tenant association has been very silent for a long time. And one thing that they must understand is that whether you are a new lawyer, you just became a minister, graduated from school, we are all renting. Whether you are MPP, NDC, CPP, PNC, and what have you, you rent. And if the government of the day is not able or is not responsible enough to make things happen, we are all affected. My sister, no, don't cut me. Sorry. See, the truth is this. I want to make it clear that we have a solution, and I want Ghanaians to listen.
We'll come to the solutions.
Yes, okay.
Let's try and understand the problems from now. Something I want to ask about State Housing Corporation. If these public-private partnerships, the opportunities you have created are not being taken advantage of, what has happened to our own SHC?
They are doing a lot. If you go to Adenta, they have developed in fact, they have land there, and they have developed a lot over there. And they are doing a lot also in most of the regional capitals. And they also partner these foreign companies to actually construct houses. And they are doing redevelopment. You know, if you go to their old sites, you realize that 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms sitting on a very huge land. So what they are doing now is to redevelop the place to accommodate many more families.
And it's all centered here in Accra?
No. If you go to Takoradi, as I said, in all the regional capitals, basically that's where they are. They have zoned their operations into 6 zones. So Eastern region and the Volta region, 1 zone, Greater Accra, Ashanti, secondly Takoradi and Cape Coast, and so on and so forth. And so they are doing a lot. But as I said, and as I said earlier, it is true that we have huge house. Nobody will say that we have been able to solve our housing needs. That's a problem. And because of that, you have to do a lot before the impact will be felt, actually. And so a lot of things are going on. And
my follow-up then is, can your secretary in your office buy those homes that you are constructing with the OOS, with the State Housing Corporation? Can that lady in your office buy that?
Sure. If my secretary earns say 500 Ghana cedis a month, and there is a mortgage facility in place. I mean, let me even put it this way. If my secretary earns 500 Ghana cedis, and there is 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and my secretary will not go for 3 bedrooms, but I want to go for 1 bedroom, which her salaries at the end of every month can be deducted to pay for in 20 years. She should be able to. But you want to satisfy your taste. Okay. You want to go for 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, maybe because of a family.
I think that.
And so reasonably, my secretary should be able to, because I've led a lot of people to go to Ghana Home Loans and HFC.
With 500 cities, as
if you go there, there's different packages there. Different packages are available. And depending on I think that it is something that we have to start education to explain it for people to understand it.
But you can't get a mortgage on 500 cities.
I use it as an example. My secretary, I don't think he earns more than.
Sadly,
she earns more than. She earns more than 500 Ghana. But you also agree with me that securing mortgage is basically for workers. If you're not working, I understand the other group who are not working at all. But if you're not working, if you don't earn something on a monthly basis, you cannot, no bank will grant you.
The problem I'm trying to bring across, or the challenge, is the fact that you need to earn huge sums at the end of the month, which is very true, before you can buy a mortgage here in the country. Because if a mortgage is going for 60,000 cedis, and you earn 500 cedis, you can't buy. If you earn 800 cedis, you can't buy. You need to earn 1,000 and above to buy. How many Ghanaians earn that? And so if we are getting affordable housing and it does not go below 60,000 cedis, then nobody can live there.
I've told you before that Blue Rose, solely owned by a Ghanaian, along the Kasua Road, Bujumbura, that place. 2 bedrooms, 50,000 Ghana cedis. And so maybe you have to also survey the markets. Don't just go for anything.
But
because
how much would government be selling these houses to public sector workers, to our security services? How is government doing this? How much would that cost? Because we've had affordable housing year on year. The price of homes just keeps shooting up.
That's why I'm saying that even if a private developer is able to sell after he has constructed road to the compound,
okay, connected
electricity, extended water to the place after construction, and his 2 bedrooms goes for 50,000 Ghana cedis. If government comes in to do the roads, to extend water, electricity to the site,
okay,
then you will certainly agree with me that at all the construction, the prices will go down drastically. And so that is what we are pushing now. We haven't done it as a country.
That is what you're pushing for.
Yes, we haven't done it as a country. But that is the direction now. That is what His Excellency has directed us to push for. And so, as I said, we now have land banks. So what we are doing now is to ask government to develop the lands and then give it out to developers. Because what is happening now is, because they are doing everything, at the end of the day, when they are pricing it, they have to factor whatever costs they incur before they produce the house.
So, Frederick, how much should a home cost for you to be able to buy?
Yes, you see, my argument has been simple. I'm looking at social housing. And I really want government to focus on social housing. I don't want to make a comment about how much and how much it will cost now. Because look at how much you earn if you want to come to ordinary Ghanaian. Even if you say 5,000 Ghana cedis, it will be very difficult for people ordinary Ghanaian to get to that place. That's why we have government intervention, whereby our resources are going to be invested in social housing. There's a clear, distinct difference between social housing and affordable housing. And I really want government officials to forget about that word affordable housing and call social housing. That's for the poor. If you want to mitigate poverty, if you want to fight for poverty, against poverty, and make accommodation available to the poor, you rather consider social housing, not affordable housing. So in the first place, I'm not interested quoting any amount or what, because I've not even delved into making analysis of that sort. Because looking at how much people earn, I'm not interested in that.
Right.
But I want a situation whereby government is considering social housing.
So, why can't we go into social housing?
No, let me come in. The truth is that now, as I think Honorable allude to the fact that now our housing deficit stands 1.7 million. As at 2014, let us put the reports.
This is
2013. And still like that. Maybe it has increased, but let's go back to what has been reported and codified. But the truth of the case is that if you look at that 1.7, from this time 2014 to 2024, then we are getting, now we produce 4,000 plus the, National State Housing Corporation real estate coming together. We produce 40,000 housing units against 170,000.
Okay.
It means that annually we should be able to what? Produce 170,000 housing units. And now currently, by records,
that is to
I'm coming. Honorable, no. I'm coming. No. Let me make a point.
No.
Let me make a point. You distract me.
No.
Let him make the point.
I'm making a point. I'll be distracted.
You can put your
what I'm
tweets
saying
on
is
it.
that the 1.7 million is what we have now since 2013. Now I'm doing my calculations that we need 170,000 housing units annually. Now we produce 40,000 housing units. Now you have a deficit of 130,000 housing units every year. Multiply by 10 years, you have 1.3 million deficit again. Because it increases, you can produce up to. We have 1.3 million housing deficit added in 2014 to that 1.3 million housing deficit.
Okay.
Then I'm saying that whether they are able to bring, whether the national housing policies in cabinet also, we want a pragmatic and, steps to make things happen. Not being a rhetoric and say that, okay, we have going this and we have mortgage tax exempted, which to me is not true. Simple as it is not true.
Something, just a quick reaction to the social housing matter.
I'm saying that it is not true because one, go to Grader. Ask the president of Grader right now. Go. I'm challenging you. Go back to Grader. Grader has serious issue with what the Ministry of Housing. What we are looking at, do they produce local manufactured products we are talking about here? How many times did late President Mills promise to go into local manufacturing? Go back to their manifesto, which brought them to power, which is being continued by President Mahama. They promised to go into that manufacturing. Have they started? These are real things that you can do to make things. But you come in, we have tax exempt, which does not exist, which is not true.
Just 30 seconds reaction to Frederick, then we can think of wrapping.
I'm sorry for
Frederick. Let's something react to
you don't
some
want
of the
to throw
things
that into public's eye. Let's be factual. It's not true. Simple as that.
Relax.
And I challenge it.
That's your opinion.
Yes,
that
it
is
is
not true. So it may not be necessarily also true that something is throwing dust into the public's eye. So let's something react to it.
Ask some your people to go to finance and ask for exemptions on social housing that we have submitted to Ministry of Finance, which they are working on. Okay. Please, if you have
they are working on. It's
Frederick,
not
no interjections. No interjections.
They are working on. It's not emotion.
It doesn't exist. Why are you behaving like that?
No.
Please,
Frederick,
you shouldn't be upset about this, Honorable.
Frederick, please. I don't want to walk you off the show. I could do that.
Don't tell us that we are lying. I'm telling you. That's why I've said that. Because we work on
this. It's not true, simple.
It is finance that grants the exemption. That's what I'm saying, that send people to finance and then ask for social housing tax exemption that we have submitted on behalf of companies.
Okay.
So don't sit down here and say that it is not true. You have, maybe you are not aware.
Oh no, we see.
Or if you are aware, you have not taken advantage of the situation. And in fact, there's 40,000, that you said we're talking about. It depends on how you are looking at it.
Right.
We have a deficit of 1.7 million.
Okay.
That's why I was just helping you that if you decide to address it in 10 years, that is why you have to do 170,000 annually.
Okay. But so is increasing.
No, please. Don't just sit down here and say we are doing.
It's increasing.
So let him speak. I think I gave you time to make your submission.
It was enough.
Right.
So the 170,000 that we are talking about, that is when you have decided to address the 1.7 million in 10 years period. You understand? Because if you have 1.7 and you are doing 170,000 annually, so that at the end of 10 years you might have finished, addressed the deficit. That is the position that he said. But if we are doing 40 million, 40,000 annually, you shouldn't conclude that because of that we are not doing much about it. In fact, as I said earlier, this your 40 million.
But my concern is the fact that these structures come up, and then somewhere along the line, nobody goes to live
is doing a lot
in it. But
look, we have Angu resources.
Let's talk briefly about rent.
We have Angu resources doing 10,000 housing units. We have certain real estate doing 5,000 housing units. Please, just come. Let's sit you down. Right. And as I said, this is your report. You didn't even give us copy.
Right. Would end the conversation here. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We can keep quiet now. Thank you very much. Samson, thank you. Frederick, thank you too.